Hello and welcome to another episode of Tori's Story. Today I have a one-on-one talk with biologist Dr. Jan Bielecki about box jellyfish. You might have seen recently a story about these fascinating animals' ability to learn. He has co-authored the paper Associative Learning in the Box Jellyfish and many others. In this conversation, we talk about a lot of different things. It varies quite a lot. We talk about sentience, and we talk about the role that neurotransmitters play in neurons of jellyfish. We talk a bit about evolution. But mainly, we're talking about how jellyfish learn to avoid damage or danger and just how intelligent these creatures are. So Jan is an expert in this subject, and he currently works as a postdoctoral researcher at the Institute of Physiology at Kiel University in Germany. So Jan and his teams have done research in the Caribbean mangrove swamps, swimming with the jellyfish and figuring out how it behaves in its natural environment. So Jan and his colleagues at the University of Copenhagen have shown for the first time that associative learning has been verified at such a basic evolutionary level. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
So let's begin with what made you study jellyfish? Why not mice or octopus?
Well, the very little flattering answer is that I'm simply not smart enough to understand mice because they have a very large brain and with that a huge nervous system that nobody is really able to understand in detail, or at least I'm not. So I figured I might as well go with something much simpler. And the jellyfish has maybe about, if we're even allowed to call it a brain, they have about 1,000 neurons in its brain, but therefore it has rather good eyes. It has a rather good sight, and it has visual guided behavior. So it processes the visual information with only 1,000 neurons, and with that, there might be a chance that even I can understand how this cellular interaction functions, like the neuronal communication when it processes this visual information. And my idea has over the years has been to try to copy this nervous system in electronic hardware, so that we can relocate pattern recognition from software to hardware.
Wow.
So instead of having a computer running the software to perform pattern recognition, we can just have the hardware doing it. And that's what we are aiming at right now.
And so if you can tell us a little bit more about why you're just focusing on why you would like the hardware to focus on pattern recognition as opposed to the software? Why that shift in focus?
Well, but because if you, like I said, if you have pattern recognition or any type of processing in software, you need a computer to run that software, and that computer uses a lot of energy. And according to Moore's law, we're going to run out of energy to support all the computers doing data processing within the next 50 years. So all the energy that we're producing globally right now will go into just simply running our computers and not warm our houses or whatever else we're using the energy for. So so it's important that scientists try to remodel the computing capabilities of our computers so that they will use less energy. And this is one way to do it, because if you relocate just the simple pattern recognition to the hardware, it will use a lot less energy. So it's because there's no computer running, it'll just be have to run the hardware. So
that's amazing. So there's not just the human, the biological understanding of learning, but also the applications that it has for reducing the carbon footprint of computing. You said you've received quite a lot of interest in your research. So why do you think people are so interested in the way that jellyfish learn, or the fact that they can learn at all? Why are people so fascinated by this? What are the implications of your research?
Well, the thing is, if you can make a simple jellyfish learn, this is at the base of our evolutionary tree. So jellyfish are generally considered the first organisms to develop a nervous system. So if the learning capabilities was already present in the first nervous system, it means that maybe we don't need a huge brain to learn anything, but maybe it's even an integral function of a neuron. So maybe you only just need one neuron to be able to learn. And since we trained both a whole animal, but also just trained the brain itself, we have a good chance of pinpointing these learning cells. It's something that would be very hard to do in the mouse, for instance, because the mouse has 2 million neurons in the cortex, and pinpointing learning cells in such a complex system would be rather hard to do. But since we had narrowed it down to maybe 30, 50 cells, it's something that we could target to see what genes are involved in this learning process. And with that, since they are a sister group to bilaterians, we and that the fact that neuronal function and anatomy and physiology is very highly conserved throughout the evolution, we may have a chance to understand the processes of learning, or the mechanisms of learning.
That is really interesting. I mean, so I read in your paper that one eye has 1,000 neurons only, and there are, I think it was 24 eyes, right, on one box jellyfish.
It's almost correct.
Okay.
It's correct that they have 24 eyes.
Okay.
But they are clustered 6 to this eye-brain complex we call rhopalium, and so 6 eyes to 1 rhopalium, and the rhopalium has 1,000 neurons. So it's not 1,000 per eye, but it's 1,000 per 6 eyes.
I see.
And the way it works in the jellyfish is that they integrate the information between them. So there's an override mechanism. So our understanding of the nervous system is that only one eye-brain complex or rhopalium is active at the time. So it's basically only using 1,000 neurons at a time, not all 4,000. Because so it's a little bit, it's similar that we have areas of our brain that we're not using, some more than others maybe.
So just for comparison, for example, how many neurons are there in a mouse brain?
Well, I'm not a mouse expert, but I think somewhere around 2 million neurons in their cortex. In the entire brain, I'm not sure. We have 100 billion neurons in our brain, and about a third of that is occupied by the visual system to support our visual system. So about 30 billion neurons for the visual system, and here we're talking 1,000. Even in smaller model organisms, people are very happy about the fruit fly. The fruit fly has about 250,000 neurons, and the zebrafish larvae, that's also a widely used model system, it has about 100,000 neurons. So this is the simplest visual processing system that I know of, at least. I stand corrected if somebody shows me something else.
How many neurons can learn? Is it just one, or is it a group of neurons, or how does it work exactly?
From our studies, it's very hard. It's very hard to say. I can't say for certain that a single neuron has the ability to learn, but the way we conducted the experiments, we can say that a group of 30 to 50 neurons is actually able to learn. And with that, that's a kind of an indication that a single neuron can also learn. And evolutionary speaking, it must be, since jellyfish is kind of the precursor of nervous systems, it probably was, this ability to learn was probably an integral function of the neuron, and then there's been through evolution a high positive selection pressure on this ability, because if you can learn from your mistakes, or if you can learn from experience, I should say, then you have a huge evolutionary advantage, because it's all about fulfilling your niche, right? Like survival of the fittest. You found your niche, and then you fill it the best of your abilities. And if you can learn from from past experience, you have a huge evolutionary advantage.
Wow. So it's just never been discovered before that actually jellyfish do learn from past experiences. And so can you tell us about your research and what exactly, how does it work? Like you trained them, or how did the process go?
Yeah, well, we did train them. It's kind of a long-winded story, because it kind of taps into the behavior of the animal in its natural habitat. It's, as you said, lives in and among the prop roots of the mangrove trees in the Caribbean, and they are seeking out these light shafts that are created by the sun shining through the foliage of the mangrove trees and in between the prop roots.
Right.
And in these light shafts, that's where they find their copepod prey, because the copepods are positive phototactic, so they congregate in huge numbers in these light shafts. And so the jellyfish likes to be in these light shafts, because then they're feeding there. And it's also mating opportunity, because males and females behave the same way, so they kind of meet in these light shafts. They're kind of the mangrove answer to clubs, I guess.
Wow.
But
should we have a look at the video? I'm just going to add the video so that people can see.
I can, yeah. This is from our cultures, and as you can see, some of the jellyfish are illuminated, some are dark, and that's because they swim in and out of this light shaft that we've created for them in the lab. And yeah, so they want to be in these light shafts. The problem is that it's made a little bit difficult by these prop roots, and they don't want to bump into the prop roots, because the prop roots will, if they do, they will damage the skin of the bell, and it's very thin. And if they get a lesion on the skin, they can get a bacterial infection, and they'll die. So this is something that is genetically encoded in them. They want to avoid these mangrove roots.
I mean, that's so interesting.
Sorry?
How do they, I don't know anything about genetics and genetic encoding, but you might say that actually they know that something bad would happen to them. Or is it just because of the sensation of bumping into a mangrove root before they can feel pain, right?
Oh, pain is such a big topic. Pain is a little bit like if a tree falls in the woods and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? You heard this one before?
Yes, I've heard it before. So
and the obvious answer is, of course, it makes a sound, because the tree falls, and But if you think of it, it's a philosophical question.
Yeah.
If a tree falls in a forest, it will certainly create pressure waves in the air. But if you don't have hearing, or like a hearing apparatus, like an ear, an inner ear, and all that, then it doesn't get translated into sound. Then it's just
Yeah.
pressure waves in air.
Yeah.
And so if the jellyfish, it certainly feels, it has mechanoreceptors, so it certainly feels bumping into something, absolutely, but it doesn't have the cognitive capabilities to associate that with a pain feeling. So
Wow.
pain
Yeah.
is something that is on a higher cognitive level. Actually, so it's the same. We, as a biologist, you always, and especially marine biologist, you always get the question if fish can feel pain,
Yeah.
and they absolutely can feel if you try to grab them or you hook them either in the mouth or the back or what have you. They can certainly feel that, but the question is if they have any cognition in terms of pain, or if they just like it elicited with them maybe an escape response or something, because it's of course not pleasant to be hooked or to be grabbed, so it just wants to escape. But the question is if they have pain. That's a different story. It's on a
Yeah. I
different
mean,
level.
let's just play this video for a little bit so people can see. So they're tiny.
Tiny, yeah. They're about 10 millimeters in bell diameter, and about an inch. That's sorry, you're metric also. So 2 to 3 centimeters long. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. I'm sorry. I went to school in the U.S., so I got.
Oh, did you? Okay, okay. Wow, that's so fascinating. So tell us about your time in the Caribbean and swimming in the mangrove swamps, are they?
It sounds. I think it sounds a little more exotic than it really is, because the mangrove lagoons are very shallow. And so
Mhm.
we go in and either work with the jellyfish or just simply collect them among the roots, where snorkeling in.
Yeah.
And you just have to make sure that you don't stir up the sediment, because then you can't see anything anymore. So we're just trying to very gently float in, and then collect the jellyfish among the prop roots.
I see.
Uh,
Okay.
And yeah, and then sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, no, continue. I was
No,
just
I just want, because it's not that they. So a lot of people have this feeling that box jellyfish are very venomous, and it's not just a feeling. They are venomous. All jellyfish, all cnidarians. So you have a lot of blue bottles in South Africa. I've
yeah,
been I was
Portuguese man
in
of war, I think they call it in America.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I was swimming off of just north of Durban once, and there was like a huge population of blue bottles. So you were not allowed to go in the water. You could go in the water, but it was like on your
Yeah.
own peril, I guess. So
Yeah.
anyway, so you know that these are stingers. Of course they're stingers.
Mm.
That's how they hunt for prey. So they shoot
Mhm.
this poisonous dart attached to a protein thread that keeps the prey. First, it kills the prey, and then it keeps the prey attached to the tentacles.
Gosh.
Yeah, and
Wow.
they all do this. Even just the moon jellies. Every cnidarian does this, because it's their strategy. It's their feeding strategy. So they're not doing
Yeah.
this to defend themselves or anything. They see something that looks like food, and then they shoot these darts.
Yeah.
They don't see it. They feel it. So
Yeah.
it's a receptor on these nematocysts. But that's another for another day. So all jellyfish are venomous. all of them. Also
even the tiny cute
corals
ones.
and the sea anemones and all of them.
Yeah.
The thing is, we wouldn't feel it. So it's the same thing with these guys. They're not harmful to us. If they have a cousin in Australia, that's a completely different story. I mean, you meet that guy, you're dead in 2 minutes.
I also have a cousin in Australia who's quite
Oh,
deadly.
you have also a cousin. Okay. I hope he's not venomous. But they have a fairly morbid sense of humor down there.
Well, I don't want to say anything about Australians. I'm sure they're all very nice people.
They are very nice people, but then there's like a good sense of humor. I'm not saying a morbid sense of humor is a bad thing.
It's really nice weather there, and that's pretty much all I know about Australia, and that the surfing is really good as well. That's about it. And the Sydney Opera House.
Oh yeah, we built that.
Koalas, wallabies.
That's fun.
You really? So sorry, the Danes built the Sydney Opera House? I had no idea.
A Dane.
Ah, okay.
Designed it. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
The architect is Danish, and so they went so much over budget that they threw him out and finished the project themselves. So
wow.
That's why the sound in there is shit, because if he had finished it, the sound would have been better. But then, so they threw him out, and then they all of a sudden, the only thing you know about Australia is Sydney Opera House, right?
Yeah.
So they tried to invite him back, but he said, "Yeah, you can."
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so one random question I want to throw in here is, so if jellyfish are able to avoid getting damaged, is it possible that that's a form of advanced learning? Am I right? So if they can avoid that, is it possible they could learn how to play a game? For example, I think I read somewhere, I don't know how true it is, that goldfish can be taught how to play football. And I just was wondering, is it possible that you can teach jellyfish how to play a game?
Well, of course. Well, first of all, avoiding stuff has nothing to do with learning.
Okay.
So this is that's just a response to a visual stimulus or tactical stimulus, depend how close you are to the obstacle, of course. So there's no learning involved in obstacle avoidance as such. For playing the game, I don't know if a jellyfish can learn to play a game. It really depends on the game. I mean, if the game is to avoid obstacles
then yes.
further away than they appear to be, then yes, they can play a game, because that's a game we played with them.
Okay.
But if you want to play football, that's a completely different story. I think maybe I mean, first of all, goldfish has a bad rep. I mean, let's face it, goldfish are pretty smart people. Not people. People pretty smart. They have a huge brain compared to the jellyfish. They have a huge brain. So
yeah, it's interesting, and that apparently they're, I think that it's actually been debunked that they have a 3-second memory or something like that. Apparently, this.
I don't. Since it's a fish, I don't think that you want to point any fingers. I think it.
Okay.
They probably have the capabilities of learning and storing memory. So that's the whole thing. So if we want to go into that, this is my pet peeve, and this is something that this study also has demonstrated, is that because we were not surprised that the jellyfish could learn, because this was something it needed to do to survive. So we
Yeah.
were absolutely certain that this learning function was present. What was
Mhm.
surprising to us is how fast they learn. They
Oh,
are very, very fast learners. In the behavioral experiments where we trained the whole animal, I think maybe 3 to 7 contacts with an obstacle that they thought was further away, they learned to stay significantly further away from that obstacle. And when I
wow.
trained just the brain by itself, it was just 5 repetitions, and it had learned already. And I didn't even test 3 repetitions. I could have tested 3, but it's sometimes never change a running system. So it was working with 5, so I still stuck with 5. So, but that is very, very
That's
fast. And
incredible.
yeah, so
It really is amazing.
compared to like much higher, um, more complex nervous systems like fruit fly or the zebrafish,
Yeah.
um, it is comparable. I mean, you can compare across experimental setups, but
Yeah.
it's very, very fast learning. So the thing is, and the reason why we were successful is because we asked the animal, "What can you do?"
Mhm.
We didn't try to do any fancy stuff that is seen in mice or in the fruit fly. The fruit fly navigates this flight simulator like a Jedi Knight. I mean, they are incredible. And
Wow.
we're not so that we weren't trying to do that. We asked the jellyfish, what can you do? And we
Yeah.
performed experimentation on the premise of the animal. It's like,
Mm.
don't judge a fish by the ability to climb a tree. That's basically
Uh-huh.
what it boils
I
down to.
understand.
If you, for instance, try to teach a rat to avoid foot shock, foot shock is used in a lot of learning experiments because it's an aversive stimulus. It's a pain basically, so it's a punishment. And so if you try to teach a rat to avoid foot shock by pressing a lever, it may
Yeah.
never learn. And I mean, rats are smart cats, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're not, but you know what I mean. They're very smart, and so the problem is that when they get foot shock, they don't hang around long enough to push levers. They just want to
Yeah.
get out of dodge. So it's just against their natural instincts to stay around, and that's why some rats will never learn. But rats are
I see.
very, very smart people. I want to say people,
Right.
very, very smart animals, and they have a great learning ability. But you'll never know if you just do that experiment.
Yeah. So there's
And
certain type of intelligence that, for example, obviously you can't put a human being in the same situation as a jellyfish and expect it to survive as well as a jellyfish would,
I think
or
I
or a rat
think
for
you
that
get
matter.
I think you get bored with the cuisine before anything.
And interestingly, as you mentioned, instincts. So an animal has instinct, and like any animal. And I just thought about my dog, who that is a Jack Russell, and she
Oh,
is,
oh,
yeah,
oh.
highly hardwired for a certain purpose, and that purpose is catching and killing rats and any small creature. And of course, it's really disturbing for me to come across this kind of behavior. But what's interesting is how you said, if you try to train, on that sort of measure of intelligence. For example, you can train a border collie how to sit and how to do a trick uh, really, really fast. But of course, border collies are intelligent in that way. But I could not train my Jack Russell to sit ever, and she will not. It doesn't matter what you give her, she won't do it.
Yeah.
And so on that scale of things, she's completely untrainable. But on every other level that she's instinctively bred for, I mean, she's just outstanding. You just couldn't even ask for a better rat catcher.
But it's annoying though, isn't it? I have a
It's tough.
I have a wiener dog, and that's absolutely untrainable.
Yeah.
It just does whatever. Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
It's
I don't.
it's
It's like
it's not possible.
no.
Exactly. I mean, I had a
Stubborn little
yeah.
bastard.
Yeah, I had a border collie that I trained to do a trick in less than a minute. It was
Yeah.
incredible. In like one go, she understood. I think she understood what I was saying, even maybe. I don't know, that's an exaggeration, but yeah, they're just interesting how different animals have a different kind of intelligence. Okay, so
But it's a phrase. It's actually a term coined in the 70s. It's a species specific defense reaction. And if you adhere to the principles of this, animals will learn much faster than if you don't. So
yeah,
it's kind of it's become my pet peeve, because I think a lot of the reproducibility problems that we have in science is caused
yeah,
by the different approaches to the animals, especially when it comes to the keeping of the animals.
right.
That you keep them in completely different environments, in different labs,
Mm,
and
mm.
then they learn differently also, of course.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, that really, I mean, that puts a whole different perspective on learning and on different types of intelligence in different animals. Yeah.
Yeah, but just from the fact that if you usually mice are kept in cages of 3 and 4, and or 3 or 4, and you have a one alpha dominating mouse, and then you
Okay.
have the what do you call it, the subordinate mouse, and then you have
Okay.
two in between, right? And that's the thing. I mean, how would you expect to get the same behavior out of those 4 mice? I,
Mm,
it's I don't understand that, and
I see.
I also, so a lot of the problem is that you keep them on a light dark cycle, so, and you keep the lights on during the day, and the lights out during the night, and
Yeah.
the researchers come there. They are lazy as anybody, and they don't want to work at night, so they work during the day. So you work during the day with
Uh-huh.
mice that are in the light, and they are nocturnal animals.
Yeah. Oh gosh,
So
well, that doesn't make any
you
sense.
work on
Yeah.
sleeping mice, basically, or jet lag mice. So
Wow. I mean, gosh. Well, that's got to have some serious implications to the outcomes of the research.
yep, that's why I
Okay,
don't
well,
do
well, it's good that you pointed it out. I mean, maybe now that there's a little bit more exposure about this, something can change about the way that we study mice. And I know that
Yeah,
mice are,
I think the community is coming around, but I mean, and the whole thing is, I've never seen a mouse stable with a window, so it's just a matter of switching the timer on the light. So
yeah,
it's not
wow.
an issue at all, actually.
Well, the scientific community better get their acts together
The patooties
because you
together.
never know who might say what. Okay. Okay. So tell us more about the jellyfish nervous system. How does this? How do the neurons communicate with each other? Do they use similar similar neurotransmitters like serotonin or dopamine that we have in the human brain? Or how do they communicate with one another?
It's yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. They only have chemical synapses. We've never found gap junctions or electrical synapses in the jellyfish, so they
Okay.
all communicate with neurotransmitters. And we did a study a number of years ago, and found that dopamine, serotonin, and different types of neuropeptides are present in the rapalian nervous system.
Hmm.
Maybe even acetylcholine. It's debatable. It's still debatable. I try to do it, but that's the thing with acetylcholine. It gets consumed by water so fast that it's hard to get it to reach the neurons. But we did knock out the neurons by using curare. So it's a nervous toxin, neuron toxin that attacks nicotinic receptors. It's very specific. Yes, dopamine, serotonin, and different types of neuropeptides. They're working.
Wow. So I do kind of wonder if jellyfish, if the neurons use dopamine and serotonin, that means that they have a certain feeling. I don't know. That maybe they're happy and maybe they're sad sometimes.
Yeah. Again, we're back to the tree in the woods.
Yeah. It's a very philosophical question,
It
and
is
of
very
course it's just
philosophical
totally
because
speculation. And
we don't know the exact location of the serotonin and dopamine receptors. So it could be, let's say, for instance, that they are connected to the pacemaker output. The pacemakers are in this propalium, and they control the bell contraction. So every time you have a pacemaker signal going through the motor neuron, you have a bell contraction. And we've seen that serotonin, if you add serotonin and dopamine, they reduce the pacemaker signal frequency. So it could be that, so when a jellyfish swims and it swims into this light shaft that I was talking about just a second ago, they stop swimming and they sink out. They are slightly negatively buoyant, and then they drag the tentacles behind them, and that's how they catch this copepod prey. So what they do is when they come in into this light shaft, the eyes get flooded with light and they stop swimming. So if you say, okay, serotonin and dopamine is involved in this stop swimming, so you're stopping the pacemaker signals. You could say that you could argue maybe that, because the jellyfish really likes to be in these light shafts. They feed there, they meet women there, so they're good. And if that's due to a dopamine or serotonin release, are they happy jellyfish? but it's a very it's of course a
let's have a look
it's
at that video
thought-provoking.
again.
I mean, they don't have the cognitive ability to feel joy.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, if you look at the other side, obstacle avoidance is or could, in a philosophical way, maybe be considered a fear response, right?
Yeah.
They
It could be.
they fear hitting this obstacle, so they perform obstacle avoidance behavior, and so that could be considered a fear response. So,
Gosh.
but it's very we're
Very
getting in the
speculative. We're
periphery of-
just totally wildly speculating about things like, this is sort of borderline
but
animal sentience debates.
yeah, but you also have to remember one thing, and this is very important because it's all a matter of definitions.
Yeah.
Who made the definition of feelings? What are feelings? Who made that definition? So of course of course if you look at it, of course a mouse have feelings. You can see them if they're in pain, you can see it in their facial expression. Of course they have feelings. So so if you're working with mice and you define feelings, then you're going to get something that's related to mice. The problem is that we are working in the boundaries, And so maybe it's time to redefine the terminology, right?
Yeah.
So even the fact that jellyfish does not have brains officially.
Mhm.
So because there was a meeting once, there was some very, very clever people, professors, and they had a
Yeah.
meeting, and then they wanted to establish which animals have brains.
Mhm.
And so after the meeting, one of the professors called my PhD supervisor and to inform him that he was sorry, but they decided that jellyfish do not have brains.
Mhm.
These are very clever people, but you have to understand that the jellyfish don't give flying fiddlesticks about professors having a meeting in Germany.
Yeah.
They are just living their life in the mangrove, and they're
Yeah.
processing visual information, and they're using it to guide their behavior, and they are actually also learning.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We can decide all we want, but the animals really, really don't care.
Yeah.
It's like your Jack Russell. He doesn't care if you want him to sit or not. It's not going to do it.
Yeah. So until we have the experience of being a jellyfish, we probably would never know. Maybe.
Oh, well, yeah, no, yes, we do because they don't have the cognitive capability of
Mm.
of um, of relating this to an emotion.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I'm
Of course.
it's
Of course. Yeah.
so even
That makes
okay,
sense.
but okay. Again, what's the definition of an emotion? You know,
Mm.
of course, it sees an obstacle and it doesn't want to bump into it, so it avoids it. But is that fear? Is that
Mm.
an emotion, fear, and then a response, avoiding fear or avoiding something unpleasant? I don't know. I guess you have to be a philosopher to answer that question. But
Yeah. It's
it's
very interesting. And
but
so,
it's
I
all
mean,
it's all in the definitions,
yeah.
right?
It's almost, I mean, there's something quite, I just want to add that there's something quite machine like about these little box jellyfish because they're kind of so simple in that they have this, like, they have eyes. And then attached to those eyes are neurons. And that's like basically, and then they're all connected. But am I right? They're all connected, right? So that's its
Not maybe not all of
entire,
them,
not all of them, maybe,
but a
but
lot
that's
of them
its
are. Yeah.
entire system is really geared just towards detecting specific things in its environment. And it's just a visual processing system is simple. Um, that's all it is. It's almost machine like. It's like
It is.
it has a
Yeah.
very simple function,
It is.
and it
I
does
mean,
what it does.
and that, yeah, and you're right because they like I said, they have these six eyes on the rhopalium, and two of those are lens eyes, like our eyes.
Yeah,
And oh yeah, there you go. That's so the lens eyes are the ones we're working with because that's the ones we understand the best.
yeah.
Um, but they're not general purpose eyes like our eyes. Here you see them on the bottom, the lower
Mm,
lens eye and the upper lens eye.
mhm.
Those are and this is also where the rhopalian nervous system is inside this complex here. You have these 1,000 neurons, and um, what did I want to say? What was the question again? The
So it's
No,
basically
the
just such
connected
a
neurons. But the thing is, these eyes they're not general purpose eyes. Like we have two
no.
eyes and they do everything for us. But
Yeah,
but their eyes, they they look. You're exactly
specific.
right. You're right. They look for a pattern or something we call matched filters. So they're looking for specific information from the environment, and then they act upon that.
Yeah,
So the lower lens eye has its purpose is to seek out the light shafts and to avoid obstacles, and the upper lens eye is involved in what we call long distance navigation because it looks out of the water and sees the canopy of the mangrove trees, and they always want to be under the canopy because they know that's where the light shafts and the food and the women are, right? So I'm sorry, I know it's a little crude comment, but the thing is, the thing is, the women, with the women is because we culture them, but we don't have females in culture. We've never been able to have mature females in culture. So they're all males. So that's why
I see.
it's a joke amongst us.
It's an in joke.
Yeah,
no
maybe
problem.
it's a little inappropriate, but it's just
No. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
They have different. They're looking for different cues from the environment, and that's it.
Yeah.
But it's actually that's a relatively well known thing from the animal kingdom. Spiders, especially, they have a bunch of eyes that where they also only look for very specific cues. So.
Fascinating.
That's kind of normal. I mean, I think the general purpose eyes, like in the mammals, that's the exception to the rule, more or less.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay, so now I'd like to ask you a few questions about you, and just to get an idea of, just the kinds of things that influenced you. So, for example, which literary work of fiction has had the greatest impact on your life, and why?
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit that you gave me this question beforehand, and I've been thinking about it, and
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure that I can name a single fictional work. I mean, I used to be an athlete, so we traveled a lot, and I was. So every time you got to the airport, you bought a book, because I'm older than the hills, so this was before the internet, and I was never really into music, because music meant you had to carry a lot of equipment to listen to music. So I'd rather have an extra pair of shoes, for instance. So I was never into music. But what we did was we were always like buying books at the airport, and I don't know if I don't know which came first, the hen or the egg, but I always gravitated towards these crazy stories or authors that kind of twisted the world upside down and made you think about, like, what the hell are we doing? Like Terry Pratchett or Douglas Adams, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, Terry
Like,
Pratchett.
I mean, I have a twisted sense of humor anyway, so it's but I like, these guys that it's completely out of left field, but it makes you think. It really makes you think, like, what the hell is this all about? So I don't know if they
Hitchhiker's Guide.
inspired me, or I was always like that and gravitated towards these people, but yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, definitely also has been my favorite, the very thinking novels that make you really think about life and what we're doing here, the big philosophical questions, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and what was the other one that I was just thinking of now? Oh yeah, Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, Good Omens.
Yeah,
I'm not
good.
sure if you've read that.
They made a series out of that one. Have you seen it?
I have. It's brilliant.
Freaking
Yeah.
brilliant. It
So
is
good.
absolutely brilliant. Crazy. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
They really nailed that one.
Yeah,
Also with the
absolutely.
casting, it's absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
So, and the next question I have is, these are would you rather questions, which I love. Would you rather questions? They're just so ridiculous. Would you rather make friends with an octopus or a jellyfish, and why?
Well, obvious answer is an octopus. I mean, jellyfish is just way too boring as a friend. I mean, it has no, it has not, it has very little to offer. But as a experimental model, as like a model organism, I much prefer the jellyfish because the octopuses, maybe.
Octopi.
I think actually you can say octopuses now, but it just it
Really?
rubs me the wrong way.
Sounds just
Um,
wrong.
yeah, it does. So the octopi are just so intelligent, and they have such a huge brain and a behavioral repertoire that it's absolutely incredible. And I wouldn't have the first clue of what to ask them. It's
Yeah,
except of course who's going to win the World Cup, because we in Germany we had this Paul octopus who predicted,
I
and I think it
remember.
was even it was the World Cup in South Africa, I think,
Yeah, yeah,
and
I remember
so
that so well.
he predicted the outcome of the German matches.
Absolutely.
And I think he
That's
did
just the
pretty well.
weirdest thing. I mean, just imagine like in another reality that that octopus was actually some kind of mystic oracle and that we're kind of the whole time missing the point that, you know, we just need to
What do you,
ask
so,
octopi for the big questions in life. What's life
oh,
all
you mean
about? And they could probably
42?
tell
You
us.
mean, but you know it's the mice. You know it's the mice, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's the mice. Yeah, from Hitchhiker's Guide. Yeah, it is the mice. I know. They're doing the experiments
And
on
the
us.
dolphin. Sorry?
Not the other way. They're doing the experiments on us, not the other way around.
Exactly, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
great.
it.
Okay, so and would you rather work in an aquarium or in the ocean, and why?
Again, this is a little bit. The question is what you mean by an aquarium. I
Mhm.
mean, I'd absolutely love to be a part of a big aquarium where I was taking care of the jellyfish display. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about the lab and the field, I mean, it's very enjoyable to be in the field. I mean, just the day on the water in the sun is, of course, vastly different than sitting in a lab in the rain in Kiel. But
Yeah.
both have advantages and disadvantages. I mean, in the field, it's very hard to exclude um, factors. It's
Mhm.
really hard to um, yeah, we like to exclude one factor at a time to see how that affects something, right? And
Yeah.
it's just basically it's mostly impossible in the field. I mean,
Yeah.
what I like to do in the field is observe and
Mhm.
get ideas to what I'm going to do in the lab. And in the lab, I'm gonna try to see if I can recreate the visual environment for the jellyfish.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And there you can of
Okay.
course exclude all the factors you want, right? So
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, that gives us, I mean, it gives us a very good indication of the kind of work that you can do in the field and in the lab. Cool. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay. So, for those who want to study in your field, what exactly do they need to do? And why would they want to study this? Why would somebody want to become a biologist? A biologist?
I have no idea. I simply couldn't tell you.
Okay,
Go do something real life. Become an artist or something. Make
get
something
a real
beautiful.
job.
Get a real job. That's that's my advice. Like
But I mean, your job is tough, and it's extremely I mean, flying to the Caribbean and swimming around in the mangroves. I mean, that's not exactly an easy task, and you
no,
never
I
know
mean
where this research is going to lead us in the next 100 years. So
that's
it's important.
absolutely true. So I mean you're playing the long game, right? And
Yeah.
even just becoming a biologist, I mean, there's two ways of becoming a biologist, right? There's you can be a biologist and working in a company, or you can do research. And
Yeah.
if you have the misfortune to choose research, then you of course have to also do a PhD. I mean, so it's basically a lot of schooling. It's a lot of sitting on your ass listening to teachers yapping on and on about something that you have marginal interest in. But yeah, so you can be a biologist, working in a company, and you need a master's for that, and they'll hire you. But if you want to apply for your own funding and all that, you would need a PhD, and so that's adding time served on top of the masters, I guess.
Yeah, it's a lot of time, right? What is it
It's
like?
a lot
3
of education, reading a lot of books, but it's no different from any other field, I guess. It's yeah, a lot of.
Interesting.
So, but I mean, what I really enjoy, I really still really enjoy, the practical work, the experimentation and the field work, and also in my grayer years, I've come to really enjoy scientific exchange with colleagues and getting
Yeah.
ideas and not necessarily have to do the work.
I mean, the fun part about your job, I mean, I don't know what it would be like, but the fun part about studying and being in academics is that you're just always learning this fascinating stuff about the world. And that's pretty much the reason why I made this. Well, the small, exactly. A very highly specific small part of the world. But I think that's one of the reasons why, that's the reason why I did this channel, is because all this information I find just so fascinating. It's just like you get to sit here and go, oh, wow, oh my gosh, how interesting. So I think it's I personally think it's a wonderful job. I love science. I mean, I'm quite a fan of reading all like the science journals, magazines, and of course.
Can I just stop you there for a second? Do you have a recording error on your end too?
A recording error? No, I don't see it. No.
Okay, I have recording error.
Oh,
Open
it might just
recording tab to learn more.
Oh, it might just be on your side because there's actually 2 recordings. So the recording on my side and on your side.
Perfect.
But I don't actually, so that you have a version, we can both download it, but it's fine on my side, thank goodness.
Okay, good. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I just want to give you a heads up because I don't know how long it's been read here on my end, but it's
that's okay. Not all good. It should all be fine. It's all good on my side. And so, yeah, I do. I think it's just so interesting. I loved doing my master's degree, and so this has been wonderful learning from you in the biology field. And I don't think I'll ever look at jellyfish the same way again.
No, that's a danger. That's the danger of getting to know them. But you're most welcome. I'm happy to yap about my work. It's been a pleasure.
I'm sure everybody has been equally as fascinated by this. And of course, please, I just always encourage people to leave comments and, ask questions if they're interested in this topic, and like, subscribe, and share so that more people can get access to this information. Okay. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to end it there.
You're very welcome.
Thanks so much, Jan. I appreciate it. Bye then.